Hey, everybody.
Hi, guys. Well, from the town that Germans would call Salzsee-Stadt,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank.
And I'm Dan.
Coming up on today's episode, we're going to ask ourselves, are we angry ex-Mormons?
Yeah.
It's been something that we've been thinking about a little bit.
Little introspection is required.
Yeah, because we've been harping on the Mormons.
Well, yeah. We'll go
We'll
through
get
it.
to it.
We'll
We'll
go
get
through
to
it.
it. Yeah.
But it's an interesting question, and we better clear the air.
One we should definitely be asking ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We encourage inward looking.
Yeah. So yeah. Because have we ever talked about how Mormons refer to the rest of humanity as Gentiles?
We may have mentioned it, but it bears repeating because oh my God, what are they doing?
Yeah.
Well, Mormons think they're Jews.
Yeah, they appropriate a lot of.
As a matter of fact,
Jewish
I
things.
have a friend whose mother, she was raised Mormon. Her parents are both Mormon.
Mm-hmm.
Her mother has no Jewish heritage to speak of,
Okay.
but looks like she could be Jewish,
Okay.
and kind of claims that she is sometimes.
How does that work?
I'm not really sure, but like every now and like literally when my friend goes to when she goes to like a new event with her family, like if her boyfriend's meeting her family for the first time or whatever, she's concerned that her mother will claim to be Jewish.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
Most Mormons don't take it to that extreme.
Yeah, that's a little much. Yeah, that's a little crazy. No, but they definitely like to they kind of use that term Gentiles.
Did you know it made it into the dictionary? There's like a
the second
meaning
definition.
Definition number 2, a non-Mormon. To Mormons, a non-Mormon.
Well, anyways, we're going to be talking. I have this story, Gentiles of the Year 2012, which this is from the Jewish community.
Did you? Yeah.
This is from the JTA.
The JTA,
which is the Global News Service of the Jewish People, is their little tagline.
Yeah, which they don't use. We had to look around to figure out what JTA stood for.
Oh, well, yeah,
because it's got the word telegraph in it,
and it's a website now.
I don't think that they're using telegraphs
I wonder if
anymore.
they actually publish anything.
Of course, AT&T stands for American Telephone and Telegraph.
That's true too. Yeah,
or whatever.
But anyways, so JTA has this. I think it's an interesting list. It brings up some interesting issues. It's the Gentiles of the Year, so they're honoring those who've been sort of good to the Jewish community, but who are not members of it.
Gentile. Oh, okay.
Okay. The first person on the list is Benjamin Millipede.
Benjamin Millipede.
Do you know who this is?
No.
He married Natalie Portman, one of the most desirable Jewish women in Hollywood.
Natalie Portman's Jewish?
I didn't know that either.
Wait.
And I'm taking the JTA at their word that she actually is.
Hold on a minute. This guy gets a Gentile of the Year award for marrying a Jew?
A famous Jew, yeah. Or a famous person who happens to be Jewish. Because
right.
I didn't know that she was Jewish.
Yeah, I mean that's crazy town to me.
He was a co-star and dance coach, I guess, choreographer at least, on Black Swan with Natalie Portman.
Great.
So they worked together.
Sure.
And I guess that's where they sort of their little romance got going. But yeah, they've got a kid. They just got married, and so yeah, 2012. Gentile of the Year. Well done, Benjamin Millipede.
P.S. She totally is. She's very Jewy. She's.
I know I've used Jewy as a term. I don't know that we should be using.
We probably shouldn't. We probably shouldn't. It's just so charming when Jon Stewart says it. So
yeah.
No,
but
you're right.
He's
We
Jewish, so I think.
Yeah.
He's
Jewish like we're Mormon is what happens.
Well, but anyways.
Yeah, she was
I
born...
can say that somebody seems a little Mormy.
Mormy. Sure, we can totally say that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Natalie Hirschlag was her given name.
Oh, really?
She was born in Jerusalem.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
How about that?
Claire Danes. makes the list.
Oh.
For being on that show, Homeland.
Oh my God! Honestly,
because the second season, Dan, which we haven't gotten to, we've
only seen a couple episodes.
I've seen most of the first season, and I've stopped so that I can get everybody caught up because it's awesome.
Yeah, we gotta get caught up,
but we got to get going on it. I guess in the second season, it takes a large part of it is actually filmed in Israel.
Okay, and so that's all great, but like to give her credit for that, rather than the writers or the producers or whatever. I mean, frankly, as an actor, I have to say, I'm terrified of people giving credit to actors for something that their character does, because then we all have to take responsibility for when people conflate an actor with their character, I get really, really itchy.
Yeah. No, okay.
I once saw an interview with the guy who played. Do you remember the movie Ghost from late 80s, early 90s?
Ghost, yeah, with
Demi Moore and
Whoopi Goldberg was in it.
Right.
Yeah.
So the guy that played the asshole in that.
Oh, he was an asshole.
He was a great asshole. He actually, I thought it was a lovely turn as a super dick. He invented the role.
Yeah.
He said I saw an interview with him once, and he said that for years afterwards, people would yell at him in the street.
God, really?
As though he had done anything.
Well, okay.
I mean, granted, like I said, it's a tribute to how well he did in the role. But, oh my God, why are you yelling at this poor actor?
Yeah, that's not cool, people.
Not cool.
Yeah, don't do that.
And don't give credit to someone for being, like, Gentile of the Year if she's just playing Gentile of the Year on TV. Honestly.
Okay, well, let's get to one that might actually not make you mad on those terms.
Okay.
There's so this is a story I hadn't heard about. There was a far right Hungarian politician in Hungary.
Okay. Which is the best place to find Hungarian politicians.
Yes, thank you. Called for Jews to be screened as potential security risks.
Oh, in Hungary?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's a largely Islamic state, isn't it?
Hungary? I don't think so.
Or has a large Islamic population?
Maybe. I don't think so. I think it's more sort of orthodoxy.
Yeah, I think
right, Eastern Orthodox. But anyways, so the deputy speaker of Parliament, Istvan Ujheli, led colleagues in wearing yellow stars during parliamentary sessions.
Oh, wow.
As a sign of solidarity with the Jewish community in Hungary.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's
so
nice.
He says that he doesn't have Jewish roots. But he'd be proud of it if it turned out that he did.
Yeah.
So that's a Gentile of the year.
Yeah,
that's a Gentile.
That I get. That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Let's see.
Also, you're right. It's not. Hungary is not even remotely.
Yeah,
they're mostly Roman Catholic, actually.
Oh, really? Okay.
According to the Wikipedia bit that I haven't actually read to make sure that that's what it is.
well done.
Oh no, that's 1867 to 1918.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what I just
Okay.
I don't know.
Nonetheless.
I don't know. I just thought, it's so near all of the stands and everything. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. Newt Gingrich made the list.
Oh.
For taking a lot of money from Jewish casino mogul Sheldon Adelson.
For taking his...
Well, no, not that. I mean, and then sparking outrage by referring to the Palestinians as a, quote, invented people.
Right, and, of course.
And then Gingrich, though, stood his ground and saying he supported a negotiated peace, but the onus was on the Palestinians. Gentile of the year.
Yeah.
Yep.
What is it about... I mean, I get that this history has been really, really rough. The whole Palestinian-Israeli history has been difficult, but no one's reasonable about it.
No.
it's just no one's yeah. The Jewish community always surprises me with how completely unwilling they are to see it from anyone else's point of view.
Yeah.
Well, no, the American Jewish community is what I'm saying.
I know.
It surprises me. It's have a little compassion.
Well, apparently also Stephen Harper, Canadian Prime Minister, has made the list.
Oh, okay.
For being an supporter of Israel.
Yeah.
He's shut down Canada's embassy in Tehran. Listed Iran as a state supporter of terrorism.
Okay.
Personally pressured Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas,
right,
to drop the Palestinians' bid for statehood. He was unsuccessful.
Why would he want?
And yep. So he's
weird.
there.
I really don't like that guy, by the way. I know you probably don't know anything about Harper.
I know a little bit about him, and nothing that I've heard makes me want to like him.
No, he's a total D-bag.
Yeah. And then there's some other stuff that's made the list.
I'm sorry. I was betraying my Canadian heritage when I said that. He's a total D-bag, eh?
Mohammed Morsi made the list.
Okay.
President of Egypt. Right?
Right. Yeah. I bet that list doesn't have that many Mohammeds on it.
Probably not. And Shaka Khan made the list.
Okay.
Because she agreed to pick up the slack after Stevie Wonder backed out of a commitment to perform at a benefit for the Israel Defense Force.
Okay. Well, hey, and it does. You know what it does?
What?
It makes us question what Stevie was up to.
I don't know. There's some.
I wonder about that.
Oh,
yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, well, there you go. That's what you get. Gentiles of the Year.
2012. Yeah,
whatever. Whatever.
Kooky little thing. I just happened upon it. I thought it was pretty awesome. Bob Costas also is on the list.
Okay.
Whatever.
I hope to make that list someday.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll ever make the list.
I'll nominate you next year.
Cool.
Yeah. Although I'm not, I don't think, I guess you probably might have to be Jewish in order.
No. Your last name's Feldman. You can totally get away with it.
I probably could just by.
They'll just assume.
Played dumb.
They'll just assume, like everybody, that if you have the last name Feldman, that you're Jewish.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Well, I want to talk about Catholics.
Okay.
Specifically, I want to talk about Catholic schools, which apparently are having trouble keeping their teachers.
Well, they pay them horribly, don't they?
Yeah. Apparently, in the 2010-2011 school year, the average teacher salary in the U.S. was $56,000. According to the National Center for Education Statistics, the average salary for a Catholic school teacher was $43,000.
Wow.
And just $31,000 for first-time teachers.
Wow. Well, I know here in town, Judge Memorial, the teachers typically they teach there so they can get their kid through Catholic school for cheap or free.
It's a good education. Like Judge is a good high school.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's tough. It's tough, and there you go. So here's the solution that they've come up with.
Okay,
a new program that is run out of a few different colleges and I guess I don't know. At least one of them is administered by the University of Dayton, which this article focuses on this woman who is part of this group. Basically, they kind of make a nunnery. Not really a nunnery, but it's a dormitory style thing. She has roommates that are all teachers.
Okay.
So they just sort of pile them in together, and they cook for each other, and they clean with each other, and they just sort of stick together.
Okay.
That's the big program. But apparently it's working.
Community teachers' living quarters?
Yeah. Yep, that's about it.
That's the solution? That's a terrible solution.
Yeah, I think it's awful. To me, it's like camp.
Pay them more.
They can't. So it's like, here's how to live thriftily. Have a family of other teachers. And the way that they're talking about it is, well, they can compare notes when they get home from school. They can commune with each other on the difficulties of being a teacher. But to me, it just sounds dumb.
To me,
it's like stay in college your whole life.
Sounds awful.
Yeah.
I mean, they're obviously only proposing this for the younger teachers.
I think that's what it is.
Teachers who are a little bit older are going to have families, and I mean, this isn't going to work.
Right. It's just until you get a husband that can pay for everything. It's until you find that rich husband. Or whatever. Or at least someone who can supplement your income. But yeah, I just thought that was I worry the state of religious education in our country is faltering. I'm worried.
You should be worried.
Yeah.
Well,
whatever will they do? Well, I'll tell you what they should do. Everybody just needs to be homeschooling all of their kids.
It would solve a lot of problems. If we just shuttered the schools and had parents teach their own kids.
Because they'll be totally responsible about teaching them.
Oh yeah. They'll expose them to different world views, and they'll definitely make sure that they broaden their horizons.
Sure. Everybody will get
things that they don't
really
know about.
Vast swath of opinion, and they'll really learn the critical thinking, and
they'll learn to get along with others of different backgrounds really well.
God.
It sounds like
although I do have to say,
awesome idea.
The new homeschooling trend is all the homeschooling mothers taking their kids out on field trips with the other homeschool. Like they do a lot of like trying to interact with other kids.
Yeah.
Trying to sort of simulate real school.
Well, they've recognized that one of the problems is socialization. But they want them only socializing with the kids that, like, they're all just weird kids at this point.
Yeah. Which is fine. I have no problem with weird.
Okay, they're weird Christian kids.
Well, and it gets because really
let's face it,
weird.
most of the people who pull their kids out are like really conservative Christians.
Yeah.
And
I think there are some that pull this off brilliantly. The homeschooling thing.
I don't think so. I'm fairly convinced it rarely, if ever, works.
Well, a lot of kids come out with I don't know. They win those spelling bees, I'll tell you that.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Have you ever seen the
education in spelling?
Have you ever seen the video of the girl who won the national spelling bee? Like, it was a while ago. It was years ago. But when she realized that she knew how to spell the word that was going to win it for her, she screamed every letter. Like, screamed.
Was that in the Spellbound? It wasn't? I saw the clip.
It was minorly alarming. It was just, why are you screaming?
Because she knew.
Well, yeah, but it wasn't just excited. It wasn't just like, B. It was like,
Well, she was the one who didn't win in Spellbound, right? The really freaky girl.
I don't know.
Wasn't there a really weird girl in Spellbound?
Have you guys all seen? You guys should all, by the way, see the
great documentary.
The documentary Spellbound. It's one of the more delightful documentaries out there. Anyway.
Anywho, well, talking about Catholics.
Yeah.
Their capital, the Vatican,
in the middle of Rome. I was going to say Rome, but it's not Rome. It's not. It's surrounded by Rome.
It's one of the hills of Rome, the Vatican. There's been a standoff of sorts. Well, actually, we talked about this, I think, last year, how the Vatican had hit this list of potential money launderers.
Yes,
right?
I remember that.
Well, they haven't fixed that issue.
Oh dear!
And it's come to a head to the point that the Vatican has actually actually it's Deutsche Bank has had the the contract, I guess, to have to furnish all of the credit card machines.
Sure.
For the Vatican.
Great.
And but Italy, which is the national bank of Italy,
sure,
who oversees operations, I guess, in they were connecting into, right, has disconnected that connection, so they can no longer tape credit cards when you need to go see when you're going into the Vatican Museum. So you can't go see the Sistine Chapel unless you have cash.
Oh my gosh!
You can't pay for. Because it's a big deal to go to like the Vatican post office.
I know that you used to go there to mail stuff.
Well, it's it's right there off of St. Peter's Square, and you get like your postcard from the Vatican, and then you get a Vatican
postmark.
Well, you actually get a stamp.
Yeah,
you buy their stamp, and then of course they post it because you drop it into one of their boxes.
Right.
And it's just a touristy thing to do and whatever.
Sure.
They can't run your credit card. So it's all cash now. You have to do only cash at the Vatican.
What about all those nice gift shop purchases that we all want to make?
Well,
what if I want a print of God touching man's?
You're probably going to have to leave the Vatican and hit one of the stores, one of the many, many, many stores that surrounds the Vatican,
right across the street.
That's actually in Italy. That's
funny. Yeah. That's draining revenue right there.
Oh yeah. I'm
so
sure.
What are they planning on doing? Now wait, why did they cut it off?
Because
they're still a little sketchy.
They meet only like 9 of the 16 core standards or something like that.
Is this like a visibility, not a visibility, a transparency issue?
There's some transparency issues, and so basically, what has happened is that because the European Commission is unable to really get in there and really look around at the Vatican's monetary practices because their practices aren't sound enough for somebody to actually be able to see where the money's flowing. It is possible, however unlikely this might be, that they could be funding international terrorism. They don't know. They cannot say that they are not. Also, the issue of money laundering has continued to come up. That what are their financial practices, and so they're actually so what they're going to do is they're probably going to have to find a nation outside of Europe, from what I understand from the story, some country somewhere who's willing to let them operate as a bank under their sort of umbrella or something, because they don't have the financial institutional. They don't want to be a financial institution. They just want to have a bank, and they want to have their own credit card machines that work. But otherwise, they're not looking to have like a banking industry, right? That's not what they're looking to do.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to find some country that's going to let them tap in.
Yeah.
And they'll find someone. There'll be some North African country or somebody,
sure,
who's just like, yeah, sure, some Kenya, somewhere. Not North Africa, but you know what I mean. Just
Nigeria.
Somewhere, somebody's going to be like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
In this day and age, they'll find some way to do it, I'm sure. But
Deutsche,
they won't be able to have a European bank running it for them.
Because they're never going to be more open.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't fully understand what the issue is beyond the basic explanation of they're not meeting the standards.
Right.
And again, is it transparency, in a willingness to be transparent, or are they unwilling to be transparent, or are they unwilling to adopt the standards?
Yeah. I don't know.
If they don't see it as a priority, then they're just not going to do it. But anyways, I just think it's funny that, that this big ass church can't get their shit together monetarily.
Yeah. The biggest ass church, like with centralized church,
gobs of money.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, they probably can't keep track of it. The money probably flows in and flows out. And that's probably the issue is they've never been able to implement good internationally recognized accounting practices.
Yeah, well, you'd think now that they've got,
but they have the money to pay someone if they wanted to.
Yeah, they
don't pay their teachers.
It's a good question. Who knows?
Sell some relics. Pay some teachers. Come on, they could sell some relics.
Sure, they've got.
I mean, I couldn't afford it,
enough.
but if I could, I would want, St. Thomas's finger. Why not?
I've got St. Francis's elbow. Anyway, so this story I wanted to bring up, and I'm not sure why I wanted to bring this up. It just hit me so hard that I wanted to talk about it together. This one, it's a bit of a rough one. I don't know. Have you heard of the case of Cassidy Goodson?
No.
She's a 14-year-old girl in, I think, Florida. Yeah,
okay.
Lakeland, Florida. She got pregnant, and she didn't want to tell anybody about it, and she just sort of hid it with whatever, baggy clothes or whatever. She wouldn't tell anyone about it, and she ended up giving birth to it, like on the bathroom floor.
Oh.
She would not tell anybody about it.
Okay.
Followed it all the way through, but still, like, was terrified to say anything, so she strangled it and killed it. Correct. Oh, God is correct.
Oh, yeah.
So
that's horrifying.
It was discovered, and she was then charged with murder. And she was charged originally they decided to charge her as an adult.
At 14?
At 14 years old. And first degree murder was the initial charge.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So
is Florida a death penalty state? I'm assuming it would be.
Yeah, it is.
Is she facing it?
Not anymore.
Oh, what happened?
Well, so she pled out, and they finally knocked it down to manslaughter, and she'll get 18 months. Oh, God. But I mean, but
in the adult system,
I believe so.
See, that's the
reason that I wanted to bring this up, and I think the thing that I'm trying to sort of wrap my head around with this is that there's a sense in this of, if she had felt safe to talk about it, if she had felt safe to abort it, if she had felt safe to do any number of things, none of this would have happened.
Yeah.
If her parents had been more open and forthcoming with her, maybe. Yeah. And who knows? But to me, this reeks of repression, of religious repression.
Right.
I don't know. I wasn't there.
Right.
But to me, what I smell off of this, and even if it's not the case in this case, it's the case in millions of cases across the country.
Do we know her religious background? Is that spelled out at all? What about
I've got,
any sense of like socioeconomic or anything like that?
The thing in cases where it's about a child, they don't give you much. So I don't claim to know that about this case.
But they were trying her as an adult.
Yeah, I think that's
her
crazy.
name is out.
Well, yeah, I did, but the long and short is I don't know.
Oh, okay. I'm just grilling you.
Yeah.
But yeah,
here's what I'm saying.
I think you go to the right place, which is, that we live in a country where over 50% of the people now believe that abortion is
murder.
And
I think this is the trouble. Like, so she has to wait until she actually births the child to commit real murder.
Yeah.
And the other thing, I guess there's so many questions that come up with this, and it's really, really tricky. But first of all, how can you blame a 14-year-old? I mean, how can you try a 14-year-old for this crime as an adult?
Well,
she clearly doesn't have adult capacity.
Right. Which is why they pled it down.
Right. Eventually, that's what happened. But the initial response of the state was to try her as an adult. See,
I think that I hate the whole trying as an adult thing. Yeah. I really, really, really do, because
she's not.
It doesn't matter. I mean, a 14-year-old is still developing. they're still emotionally and mentally and just I don't even know what to say about it, to be honest. But they're not adults. And to try them as such is, having worked with teenagers, I mean, it's amazing how much they can present sort of adult-like mannerisms.
Yeah.
And so it is really easy to get sucked in and believe that they are basically adults. And I'm talking about good kids here too, right? And so it's like, it's really easy to kind of get duped in, and then something will happen, and it's just like, oh shit, I am dealing with a 16-year-old.
Right.
I kind of forgot that for a minute because I have great conversations with this kid. We share a lot of similar interests, and so we're able to like really connect as human beings. But then they'll do some boneheaded teenage thing, and you're just like, okay, I'm working with teenagers.
Right.
And
I think part of this deal is no one who's able to act autonomously, who's able to act as an adult, would have taken this course of action.
Exactly.
There are 100,000 other courses of action to take. Yeah. As an adult, there are hard choices.
Who does take those actions should be tried for murder.
Absolutely.
But a child who doesn't have control of their own life.
Right. This child is under the thumb of a parent who clearly the parent,
they see far fewer options.
Whether it's true or not, this child felt that her parents would have responded so badly that she would rather, and she doesn't have the mental capability of seeing beyond that.
Right.
She's terrified of the parents' reaction. Which is so teenage, and I remember those feelings. I remember feeling like, oh my God, what if my parents X? And now I look back and I'm like, well, my response was silly. That's stupid.
Right.
But I'll tell you what, you look at the comments on some of these articles.
Oh my, I wouldn't even want to.
Literally a comment. This disgusts me, this being a reference to her reduced sentence.
Yeah.
She should have gotten life in prison. Her baby didn't get a second chance. Another one. If she's old enough to have a baby, that age, she's old enough to serve life in prison.
God.
Murder is murder no matter what age you are, no matter what your age is. You kill someone, you do life. That is, this is shown. Okay. These people can't write. I'm not going to read it. But the truth, I mean, here's the thing. You've lost your sense of direction if you can't go specific, go case by case on this. You have, and these people all clearly, I mean, the abortion argument in our country has turned into either it's black and white. You either, if you're on one side, then it's a woman's rights issue, and if you're on another side, it is a murder issue.
Right.
And if you're on and if you're on the murder side of it, you have beaten it into yourself and others that it's the most horrible, 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 horrible thing happening in the United States of America right now. The words Holocaust come up all the time in the abortion debate. And frankly, I think it just conditions people that if they hear of a baby dying, it's just like, throw the book at him, kill him, send him away forever.
Yeah.
And, that's just not reasonable. It's not a reasonable position to take with a 14-year-old girl.
Yeah. Well, damn. Yeah.
It just hit me so hard. I just kind of needed to talk about it, walk through it with you.
Okay. Well,
you got something?
Yeah. I don't know. I want to do it after that, though. God damn. Let's see. We have this is coming to us from the New York Times. It's a story about the sort of the basis, I guess, background. What's the thing I'm looking for? Of Superman.
Oh,
sort of the how did the Joe Shuster, sort of, who's one of the co-creators of Superman, really get going with it. Who he created it with Jerry Siegel.
Okay.
They, I guess Joe Shuster met him personally on the street.
Met Superman?
He met a guy who was like, "That's him! It's Superman! Look at that square jaw!" Right? And you can see this is actually a sketch.
Oh.
This is a portrait of the guy that he did.
He does look very Superman-y.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious, what a specimen. 24 years old.
Handsome devil.
Walking around looking like that. Oh my God.
Very serious.
Very serious, square-jawed individual, all-American.
Mm-hmm.
Jew.
A Jew.
A Jew.
Okay.
But so were Siegel and Schuster.
Okay.
They were both Jewish. And they they've kind of been revealing that or I guess which one's still alive? I heard one of them on Terry Gross not too long ago. But anyways, they what is it? Sort of the biblical story of the baby Moses, right? Being delivered to the Pharaoh daughter.
Oh, sure.
In a basket, right? That was floating down the river.
Right.
And so they're saying that they took that as inspiration for this baby arriving from whatever planet.
From the planet Krypton.
Krypton, that's the one.
Yeah.
Don't you
remember the original Superman movie with where Jor-El, his father, was played by Marlon Brando?
Yeah. Do you remember or do you know what Superman's Kryptonian name is?
Wait a minute. I can do this. I remember Jor-El, I got his dad's name.
Yeah, you did. You pulled that.
And I'm remembering the voice of Marlon Brando talking in
on the planet.
And well, no, but
in the Temple of Solitude.
Yeah. When he's doing the crystal thing,
Fortress of Solitude,
and he's got the crystals, and he says something. My son, he says, Kal-El.
Yeah.
Yes,
which sounds like the Hebrew for voice or vessel of God.
We've got our Jewish version of Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, exactly. But in this case, it's Superman, or should I say Superman?
Hello, my name is Roger Superman.
Clark Superman.
Clark, yeah. Oh my god.
Kal-El Superman. But yeah, apparently there is a show of a lot of early Superman stuff, memorabilia, what have you, that's taking place in New York at a Jewish community center or something like that. And at least that's what I remember from the article. I might be completely, but it was definitely a Jewish something or other.
So it's like a show of...
It's a show, and they're really exploring the Jewish roots of Superman.
Oh.
Like they're actually like saying, oh, there's this. The idea of, I guess, being like an outsider,
sure,
and all of that kind of stuff.
Interesting.
Like I remember the thing on Terry Gross, and it was really quite fascinating.
Huh. And it was intentional. Like, it was intentional on the part of the creators.
They were. She was talking to. I think she was talking to Joe Shuster. I can't remember which one of the two is. I think only one of them's still alive. Which, goodness gracious, he'd have to be ancient at this point.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
What? Yeah.
Or maybe it was somebody who was just exploring it. Maybe they're both dead. I don't know. Wow. I'm not a real comic book guy. Like right. I don't know that a lot of this crap. But I did find it really, really, really interesting, just sort of the fact that such an iconic all-American figure was created with very, very specific Jewish roots.
Yeah. I think that's great.
Yeah, I think it's...
There you go.
You know, whatever.
I think that's fascinating, though.
Yeah.
You don't... I don't know. I love it. Good.
Yeah.
Go Jewish. He's my least favorite comic book hero.
Oh, really?
I find him. I think he's the least relevant of the comic book heroes to today. Because right now, at this point, we don't like. He's a god.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with a guy who has no invulnerabilities except a rock that you can't get on this planet?
Right.
I don't even know how they continued that comic book series, because to me it's just like, oh no, more bullets, darn. You know, it's like, what are you up against?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Only two.
He's up against humanity in a way, right? Like struggling with fitting in, and so here he loves a woman, and yet he's not able to, ever be with her.
Yeah, but the whole point of Superman is that he's fighting crime.
Well, that's part of it.
And he's invulnerable.
Yeah.
He's completely invulnerable.
Yeah.
We need our Batman. We need our guys who are like, who can be shot and killed, and we know that. Who are risking something.
Yeah.
You're saying that his journey is an emotional journey.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
They got that Man of Steel one
it's an
coming
exploration
out
of humanity from an outsider's perspective, right? Like
I guess.
somebody trying to be a part, but who can't, for obvious reasons.
It's an alien.
And yeah.
There should be an X-Files Superman meeting.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. No? Mulder and Scully find out that Superman's an alien, right? That's all I'm going. That's all I'm going for.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
All right. Anyway, there's news from Texas.
Oh boy. Really?
Yeah.
That's never a good way to start it.
Well, I gotta say, there was a terrifying email that was going around in the Dallas area school board that said, it was titled Irving ISD, which I guess is something...
Independent School District.
Yes. Indoctrinating Islam.
Ooh.
It warned Christians are going to have to stand up against the pro-Islamic teaching in our public schools.
Oh boy.
With the C-Scope curriculum. C-Scope is a nonprofit offshoot of the Texas Education Service Centers.
Okay.
Well, that's terrifying.
That is.
What if there's a Muslim bias?
What is going on in Irving?
I know. It's terrifying. So, they did the right thing, and they did a study.
Oh, okay.
To suss out the...
cool. They didn't just...
The Muslim bias.
Okay.
In the schools. Unfortunately, what they found was that Christianity was getting a bias. Surprise!
So are they going to do anything about it?
No, of course they're not going to do anything about that. No, yeah. Among the findings were that Christianity
They revealed their own bias.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what happened. Among the findings, Christianity got twice as much attention in the curriculum as any other religion. Islam was a distant second. The Red Crescent and Boston Tea Party reference mentioned in the email, apparently there was like this whole thing, were nowhere in the curriculum, although they may have been in the past. And if there was any Islamic bias in C-Scope, it was, quote, bias against radical Islam.
Wow.
Obviously, that's not a surprise to any thinking human.
No, but
apparently they were blindsided by this. Or maybe they just maybe just
nothing will be done of it.
No, because because frankly,
they're like, oh, thank God.
Right, exactly. No, I'm sure they're still outraged. I'm sure a mention of Islam in any positive light
too much.
was probably too much for them.
Good God.
I mean, honestly, I'm sure that they're pleased by the result that if there was any Islamic bias, it was against radical Islam. I'm sure that they were pleased by that.
Yeah.
But they don't believe it. I don't know. I'm sure that they don't believe it. I'm sure they're like, no. Now we have to question the study.
Yeah.
Now we have to,
Their methodology was wrong. They were asking the wrong questions.
No, they're under the thumb of the Islamists.
It's a grand conspiracy.
It is a conspiracy.
Oh, my God.
I'm pulling my kids out of Texas schools.
Yeah, as you should.
Yeah, I'm going to homeschool them right.
Yeah.
God done it.
Yeah.
That's the entire argument.
You just read a book called God Done It.
Right, exactly. Want to know about magnets? God done it.
It's a history book. It's a science book.
It's everything.
It's everything. Yeah.
You want to know about the American Constitution? God done it.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, Texas.
Texas is fun. All right. Facebook.com/TGIAtheist. You can go there and like us. And follow us.
Yeah.
We like that.
You can email us, and we sure do appreciate your feedback at podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
And of course, you can leave us a voicemail. Get out your pen and paper. 424-666-8442.
Right. And just so that you know, just to be clear, because this has happened a few times, it's just thank God I'm atheist, not thank God I'm an atheist.
Oh, right. Okay.
So I just want to
if you're typing thank God I'm an atheist,
you may find something else.
Oh, okay.
So thank God I'm atheist.com. That's the name of the show.
All right, cool. All right, so let's take a quick break. We're going to listen to Franklin Graham on, I don't even know what he's on, to be honest, but it's just him. He's on the phone on a show, but this little snippet of him is really quite awesome. And Franklin Graham is the son of Billy Graham.
Right. He took over his daddy's ministry.
Yeah. So here we go.
The violence that we see now on TV and what we hear in music, and it's so graphic. The arcades where you can go to a video arcade, and they're murder simulators, and you can sit there and you can have an electronic gun in your hand, and you can point that at a video character and pull the trigger, and you can see the bullet impact their flesh, and blood fly and body parts fly off, and people are laughing and thinking this is fun. We are desynthesized.
Yes.
And we are doing this as a nation, and we're doing it under the auspices of free speech, and we're going to just destroy ourselves as a nation. We need to turn to God. And these politicians in Washington, we've taken God out of our school, we've taken him out of our government, and now we seem shocked at all these things. Why are we shocked? We shouldn't be shocked.
That's right.
This is what happens when a society turns its back on God.
Oh, yeah.
Desynthesized.
Well, there's that.
We're all being desynthesized. I don't think that's the word he was looking for.
I prefer it when I'm synthesized.
Yes, one
it's
likes
much better.
One likes to be synthesized. This guy. This
is what happens when we turn our backs on God.
Yeah,
right?
It's so funny. Here's an interesting point. As someone who has studied theater, and at the purpose of theater and the purpose of drama and the history of it.
Okay.
I know that one of the reasons that we have art in general, one of the reasons that we have any kind of art is for some sort of catharsis, some sort of, it's a way for us to explore subject matter that we don't have another way of exploring.
Okay.
That we don't, because not everybody wants to just get all very intellectual about things. We need to explore things emotionally too.
Right.
So when he talks about the violent video games or the violence of that, I think he's right that some of it gets a little too graphic.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you what, it's no more graphic than what they used. Like in Shakespeare's day, they had what they called bear baiting, which is when they would sick dogs on a chained up bear and see who wins, and everybody would watch.
Right.
They had, you go back to gladiator times.
Oh, yeah.
Surely that
far
entertainment is worse than pretend shooting on a computer screen.
Yeah.
But I guess my point here is that the violence of entertainment has always been there.
Right.
And it's purposeful and it's needed.
Well, and there is, there are countries throughout the world that have similar, levels of violence in their media. But the one that we can really look to is Japan. And because they are, manga is terribly violent. Anime is violent, or at least parts of it are. And they have violent films. The Ring was based off of a Japanese film.
Right.
So, I mean, they have it's just a big part of what's available in Japan as far as entertainment. and they don't have anything close to the violence per capita that we see in this country. Like, it's not even in the ballpark.
Right.
And so,
well, they also have a really intense gun control law.
Well, exactly, but you can't look at violence specifically and say that is the root cause.
You mean violence
in entertainment,
right?
And say that that's the root cause. You have to look at,
and plus you can't.
So you have to look at what's different.
You can't just say it and not have any data to back you up.
Right.
You can't just throw it out there as, well, obviously there's too much violence in our media.
Well, right.
Because you're just guessing.
Right.
All you're doing is throwing out something that seems like it correlates, but you don't have any reason to believe that other than just it makes sense in your brain.
Right.
But we as humans need a way to process horrific thoughts, horrific ideas, horrific, horrific things happen in the world, and we need a way to process it. And that's where art comes in. And sometimes artists will paint something horrible. Mm-hmm. They will, they'll give they need to explore graphic, horrible imagery.
Mm-hmm. Well, to be honest, that's where religion comes in.
Well, yeah.
Because I'm being kind of cheeky here, but horrible representations of Christ on the cross.
Yeah.
Let's face it, folks. The evangelicals, you go to like these Bible park things where they'll have like recreations of the crucifixion and whatnot. Right. We're talking about something that's graphic and horrifying.
A graphic murder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they celebrate it as part of their religious observance.
Absolutely. To look to the media, I think is I don't disagree that it might have some impact. And on weaker minds, who knows what it does.
Some people might, yeah.
So I'd love to see data on it. Frankly, yeah.
But I know. I've watched. I don't watch tons of really violent stuff, but I watched Tarantino films, and
you haven't shot anybody.
I've never. I'm super pacifist.
Yeah. In fairness, again, we don't know. We know how that violence affects our brain.
Exactly.
We don't know how it affects a cracked brain.
Well, apparently for Franklin Graham, it's made him want to kill people.
Yeah.
Right? If that's the conclusion that he's jumping to, is that, I don't know. But I think you're also right just about sort of the history of violent entertainment, and just the fact that human beings are violent.
Yeah.
We've been working on trying to root this out of our society. We've talked about violence against kids in the form of spanking and whatnot, and we've done a really good job of making that a taboo. But, it's still out there. It's big. And whenever humanity seems to be unchecked by the rule of law, it just seems like violence takes over.
Yeah, who knows? I guess the point that I'm trying to make is that this is a much more complicated issue than people on either side of it want to make it. And especially the religious, who want to make it purely about, if we were praying more, this wouldn't have happened.
Right.
And I think we need to be honest. We need to be more honest in the arguments. We need to be more clear. There was a really fascinating article by Sam Harris, actually, on his blog. If you want to go to samharris.org and find it, it's titled "The Riddle of the Gun," and he actually talks on both sides of the gun control issue, and sort of takes both sides to task for not being honest about it. He takes the gun control people to task because, whatever arguments we have against them, but he also takes the gun control people he takes to task because for a lot of reasons, but for instance, he talks about how in a dark theater, it probably wouldn't have been a good idea for somebody else to be shooting.
No, absolutely not.
But in a school, a trained armed guard could have prevented that, could have stopped it.
Sure,
it's possible, and we need to be honest about that. Someone who is a trained armed guard, as much as we want to say the solution is not to put armed people, as much as we bleeding heart liberals want to say that the solution is not to put armed guards into every school, if someone had been armed and present and had heard gunfire, they may have been able to
save some lives.
To save some lives, and we need to be honest about that. It's about being honest so that the solution is the real solution. So I think everyone should read Sam's article. That's a truly he's a guy who generally I don't agree with everything he thinks and writes, but at very least he's willing to challenge himself and to challenge and to try to get at something very real.
Well, so, all right.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. So we have some voicemails.
We do have voicemails.
And stuff. Oh, we have some emails too. Should we do emails first?
Let's do emails first.
Okay. Let me just look here. We've got one from Mara.
Aww.
Who's my mom.
Aww.
But this time she didn't write to me. She wrote to the podcast.
Okay, so it's to us.
There you go.
Okay.
She says, she talks about it, she's talking about, she's Canadian. She lives in Canada. And she says, on this sunny Canadian New Year's Day, I listened to yesterday's podcast while I most appropriately dismantled the Christmas tree trimmings, Christmas cards, wreath, and all. And what she's talking about is that she has a lodger. She has she has a couple of guys that live that rent out space in her home, in her basement.
Okay.
And one of them is of Muslim descent.
Okay.
And he has a daughter. The mother is now they're not together anymore.
Oh, okay.
And so the mother has most of the custody of the daughter. But, she comes over all the time. And so my mother has become Grandma Mora to
cute.
her.
Okay.
Which is really sweet.
Yeah.
But apparently her mom has been really saying, really pushing her that Christianity is bad and that Islam is good. And so her mother was told her that, Santa Claus is bad. Eid is good. Eid being the Muslim celebration.
Right.
Apparently, Sumaya, the little girl, when she was visiting at Grandma Mora's house, came up with the idea of Christmas Eid.
Oh, that's
as a way of maybe sort of
that's cute,
combining the two things. Anyway, it's one of those things where it's an interesting moment in a pluralistic society. Her mother is from Africa. Let's see, the father's from Zambia. The mother, I don't remember where. I think she's Somali.
Oh, okay.
And but
well,
this is
the
where
thing that struck me, and maybe I just read it the one time, was just sort of the idea that it sounded like your mom wasn't going to make a big to-do of Christmas at all with the decorations and whatnot, but because she wanted to expose this child to something that was a little bit different,
right?
She went out of her way to kind of set up Christmas in her house.
They played with the little village.
It seems really sweet.
It does seem really sweet.
And subversive.
Is it a little? It's a little.
Your mom's being a little subversive.
It is a little subversive. I'm not sure that that's. I'm not sure that the mother would appreciate that.
Probably not at all. But I like that she did it.
I don't know.
Kids need to be exposed to things that are different.
I think kids need to. I think exposure is always a good thing.
Yeah,
exposure.
Absolutely.
Gentle exposure.
Yeah,
she's not trying to indoctrinate her.
Oh no.
She's not trying to turn her Christian or anything, which would be silly because my mom is not.
Right, exactly. It would be.
I'm going to stop right now because my mom's position is hers, and I don't know it. But she's certainly not into indoctrinating anybody into Christianity. For sure.
Right. Okay.
Anyway, thanks, Mom.
Yeah. Thanks, Maura.
That was cute. So we do have one more email. I'm thinking it ties more in with a couple of our voicemails.
Oh, okay.
So let's listen to Sam's voicemail first.
Oh, okay.
And then we'll jump to these three.
All right, cool. Sam from Ohio.
Hey guys, my name is Sam. I live in Ohio, and I love the podcast. It always makes me laugh. And I was just thinking, I just heard your podcast that you did about how that guy said that when a woman gets raped, the child is the will of God. And so you shouldn't have abortions. Well, it made me think, and I had this little epiphany, And it just kind of blew my mind, because it's like, what if in the Bible, how, like, Mary got pregnant, but she was a virgin? What if that wasn't, like, like, it's not that, like, beautiful thing where, like, the angel comes down and, like, blesses, Mary with, Jesus, but she was still a virgin? What if, like, God raped Mary? Because you guys were, speculating about how it's God's will if the woman gets raped, then it's God's will that the man's a rapist, and that like might mean that God is a rapist. So I just I just had this weird like mind blow. I'm just like, oh dear Lord. So anyway, yeah. Love the podcast. Keep doing what you're doing. Thanks. Bye.
All right, Sam. God is a rapist. Well, that actually fits wonderfully with Mormon theology about because like I don't think mainline Christians really believe that God had sex with Mary.
No.
Whereas
Mormons
there's
do.
a reading of Mormon theology that is very clearly
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a good way of putting it. There's a reading of it.
Yeah.
That's that. They believe that God was the physical father of Jesus.
Right.
So that's it's gray area, I guess.
Yeah.
But it is interesting to note that in the Bible, it doesn't say God went to Mary and said, "You cool with this?"
Right.
The angel comes to her and says, "Hey, guess what's about to happen?"
Yeah. Well, in an era, in a time, in a place where marriages were not of your own arranging.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, but
that your parents probably picked out who you're getting together with. You never had that little. Well, like it wouldn't even occur to the writers of the Gospels to be like, oh, Mary should have to like say yes.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Like it just culturally would not have been a thing.
And it's just, if you're going to give birth to God's child, I think it's assumed that you have to say yes to God making an inquiry. Anyway, I just think that that's hilarious. And it's not, the other thing is, it's not like rape isn't condoned all throughout the Bible.
Oh, yeah.
In the Old Testament is just lousy with rape.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So there you go. God as a rapist. And he didn't ask.
No. Yeah, it's true. So
that's rude.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you, Sam.
All right. What's that email?
Well, okay, so last week, you remember we talked about the Mormon endowment temple ceremony.
Yeah.
And
the fact that there's a video.
And the fact that there's a video out there. And so we've had some responses to that, which is what we asked for.
Yeah,
so that's
Sam,
good.
We got them.
We did get them. And one of the guys calls himself Korahor, and he... I think he's emailed us before.
I think so too.
And he says he wanted to relay this story. Hi,
okay.
Dan and Frank. Here's my take on the temple. While I was a member of the Mo till I was 18, I left and essentially did not believe from the time I was about 8 years old. However, I wanted to marry a good a good in parentheses question mark Mormon girl who needed a temple marriage to please her family. She also had her doubts about the church, so we used unholy powers to thwart the bishop's God-given discernment powers and BS'd our way in. Which, yeah, theoretically, bishops are supposed to have. Be able to
tell if you're lying to them.
You discern.
Yeah.
It's a lot to put on the shoulders of some guy that just happened to be called.
Just some dude who...
Anyway, so while we weren't necessarily non-members seeing it fresh, we might as well have been. I had no prep since everyone assumed I had grown up in the church and knew what was what. My G's, this is a reference for the uninitiated to garments, meaning the underwear that Mormons wear. My G's were literally in the plastic when I got to my poncho cubby on the way to the whispery old man side thigh action.
There's a lot to explain there.
Yeah, it's pretty packed in. Go ahead, Frank. You've done it.
They're just talking about the washing anointing, where you're wearing nothing under a poncho.
Right.
You have a poncho on, but you're naked. So imagine that amount of coverage. And it all takes place like right next to the locker room. Like it's usually just locker room adjacent. Actually, I kind of remember it actually being a part of the locker room. But anyways, And yeah, there's temple workers are usually older.
Typically, they are old people,
and so that's and part of it. It's a washing and anointing. So they get some oil on their finger and they touch you and say certain things at certain times. I can't remember what they
touch
say.
You in various places.
So like on your forehead, and then they touch you like. I think they touch you across your chest. They kind of swipe oil across your chest.
Ooh, they go under the poncho to do it?
Under the poncho.
Oh,
and then they have
creepy.
The side of your thigh, the outer side. It's not terribly.
It used to be more invasive, wasn't it?
I don't know. You hear things. I don't know what.
And men do it for men, and women do it for women.
Which means that women are officiating as priestesses,
right,
in the temple.
Yeah,
which is always a fun fact.
Anyway, so getting back to Korihor's letter, he got his poncho cubby on the way to the whispery old man's thigh action. Nimrod, he proclaimed. I'm sure he didn't say it that way. And once I realized that it was my new name and not him being a dick, I was like, oh, okay. Because it was one of Green Day's best albums. Anyway, so my impression...
Nimrod is one of the names?
Yes.
That is amazing.
Nimrod. What? Screw you, old dude. Oh, my name. Okay, sorry. Yeah.
Moron.
Moroni. Moroni is an actual Mormon dude. Anyway,
dipshit.
Your new name is asshole. Wait, what? All right, go on to the next room.
Just complete confusion.
Wait, what? You have to say your name and then you have to say your name to the guy at the veil, and you lean in and you go asshole, and they're like, wait, what? Just keep passing it on. Anyway, Korihor gets to his impression of it. So my impression. Weird, yeah, some creepy junk, but mostly just a boring rehash of church dipped in Freemason goo. The profound takeaway for me, and shit's about to get real now, was that the overwhelming sense of sadness and disappointment I felt for my parents and everyone I had grown up with for being so lame and stupid. I thought all these people were smart and with it. Yeah. I thought all these people were smart and with it, I thought to myself. Yeah. But I guess not if this is what they're going to do with their lives. So there you go.
That's a great perspective, actually, because like I get that.
Yeah.
I just have extreme sadness for my family. Because my parents are the ones who got the whole ball rolling, right? They're the converts. And so it's not like I come from a long line of Mormons.
Right.
Right? Like I come from a very short line of Mormons.
But even the families that are from a long line of Mormons, one of them had to do this first.
No, yeah. But typically you're going to have tons of cousins, you're going to have this, you're going to have that. So I just look at my like immediate family and I'm just like, oh my God. And so I feel really like they're just this anomaly.
Yeah.
And
I got news for you, Frank.
And whatnot. But I better have
They
a kid
also feel sad for you.
Yeah, but that's fine.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying, it's interesting because... yeah, that is one of the responses. I know a lot of very intelligent, very loving, very interesting people who go through this whole process and it works for them. And that's confusing to me. I don't know that I find it like any sadder than people in other religions, but it's confusing for sure. Anyway, we've got some voicemail. We also have some voicemail responses. Why don't we get to those?
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on.
Woo-hoo.
Okay.
Way to interact, everybody.
This is Josiah.
Hi, my name is Josiah. I'm 17, and I'm from Toronto, Canada. I just finished watching the Mormon endowment ceremony thing that you guys were talking about in the last episode, or last podcast. And it really wasn't as weird as I thought it was going to be. I come from a Catholic background, and I have to say, like, watching that just kind of gave me that same feeling that I would get now when I walk into a church. It's just kind of, not weird, but religious-y, I guess. I don't know. But, yeah, that's kind of just all I wanted to say. Thanks for letting me call in, I guess. I don't know. But this number is really hard to find, by the way. Put it on the Facebook page. Peace.
Thanks, Josiah.
Yeah.
So not as weird as he thought it was going to be.
And I wondered about that. I mean, you and I were commenting about that possibility coming through, that maybe it's only as weird. I don't know. It ties in with the next one. Why don't we play the next one, then we'll respond to both of them. Oh, but I will say this. Right now on the Facebook page, you can find our number, hopefully.
Yeah. Oh, okay, good. And, all right, yeah, here we go. This is David.
Hi, Dan. This is David from Birmingham, and I wanted to comment about the Mormon video from the perspective of a former Christian. I just wanted to let you know that there is nothing in that video that is particularly weird, as it were, because mainstream Christianity is absolutely weird. You've got examples on your own site, The Power of Prayer, Lunatic Edition. You can turn that on any television on any Sunday morning. It's mainstream. It's lunacy. You walk into any Christian church and you see an occult fetish with blood. You see a cannibalistic-like ritual of eating the flesh and drinking the blood of the Christian God. And whether they take it literally or figuratively, that's pretty darn weird. You are baptized to come in contact with the blood of Christ. Any Sunday you can hear a song, "Are You Washed in the Blood?" and things like that. It's all very weird. The difference is that it's mainstream and the Mormon stuff is a secret. But, you can't say that one is more lunacy than the other. At any rate, that's a perspective I'm not sure you've gotten before. Love your show. Bye-bye.
Well, we were talking about that before, weren't we?
Uh-huh.
I mean, I think that's a great comment.
Yeah.
The whole notion that it's any weirder than anything else. I mean, it's
a great point.
It's kept secret, and that's kind of its own little thing.
Interesting to see what they do. I mean, I don't know. Like, I guess it's such a, in my mind, the whole temple thing, and it's interesting to hear that perspective, because as an ex-Mormon, it's like, that thing's so fucked up. Right, like it's just right, like it's and having gone through it, and then the creep out factor of having gone through it, I for me it was just like, but maybe more than anything it was the fact that I know that I experienced the indoctrination and the whatever level of brainwashing, whatever techniques, the couple of them that are in there. And it just has this creep out, because it was so hard to get out of, and so it was personally, from my perspective, it's just horrifying.
And in fairness, I
guess anyone who got themselves out of whatever faith is probably going to have a little bit of a little pea shiver whenever they think about certain aspects of their faith that they once were a participant of.
By the same token, though, I have to say, there is no Catholic equivalent to this.
No.
To the temple ceremony. And again, you can go to thankgodimatheist.com. I've posted 2 videos. One is of what's called
it's a live session.
There's a live session. The live sessions only happen in the Salt Lake Temple and the Manti, Utah Temple.
Yeah.
And what they mean by live session is that there's a part that's about, it's like a little story about Adam and Eve and about God and Jesus creating the universe. Mm-hmm. And by the way, you may be confused, because God is called Elohim or Elohim. They say him, not him. Mm-hmm. And Jesus is called Jehovah.
Yeah.
And then there's another guy named Michael, who's I guess the Archangel Michael, but then he
kind of guess so.
And then they turn him into Adam.
Yeah,
It's a very confusing story. But in the live session, these roles are played by old
temple workers,
and in the
since
other
most
one,
temple workers are old.
Yeah. And in the other video, which is a little easier to hear, you can see just the movie that they've produced.
And to be honest, I found myself just kind of zoning out watching it, like I would watching any boring movie.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I just kind of was like, and it really, I mean, to be honest, I guess, if you watch that, there really isn't anything all that strange in it, because it's just a video presentation.
Right. The video itself is not a thing. Here's what the temple ceremony does that's not unlike the Bible in this respect. When you're reading the Bible, and I found this because I went back to read the Bible, and I wanted to read it with new eyes. I wanted to read it after I've
as an atheist.
Yes, after I've shed all of the trappings of religion. I wanted to just sort of see what was in it. And the thing is, there's a lot of really boring stuff in the Bible. Just begat after begat after begat. I don't care who the father of blah was, and he's the son of this and he's the son of that and blah blah blah. But you got to be careful, because you'll zone out. You'll stop like paying attention to what you're reading, and then right in the middle there, it'll be like begat, and he begat this, and he begat that, and they were of the people who murdered 4 million people, and some huge thing will be 2 verses in the middle of a bunch of begats, and then it'll go back to other begats.
That's some good juicy stuff, you're saying.
Right.
Yeah.
And the temple ceremony does the same thing, where there's like boring, 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 and blah, 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 and then suddenly they're doing secret handshakes. You're like, wait, what? There are secret handshakes to get into heaven. But it's like boring, 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 and the sign of the token, and it's the sure sign of the nail, and suddenly people are like touching each other in this weird way, and and you have to learn that, and then you get to the veil.
So that's how you get into heaven.
By the way, if you guys stopped watching the video, I totally understand, but do not miss towards the end the veil.
Yeah.
It's right towards the end. You'll see a curtain, and a hand will emerge from the curtain.
Don't gesture like that, Dan.
A hand.
It just creeps me out.
It just comes right out.
Anyways,
you can't miss that part.
Okay, so we thank you for your responses, and it really does give me something to think about.
Right.
And
it kind of gave us both pause.
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, well, so where are we going with this, Frank?
Well, where we're going is, it made me wonder, are we some form of, sort of, for lack of a better way of saying it, some analog to the angry atheists, where we're angry ex-Mormons?
It's a good question.
Are we? I don't think we're I don't know. We're not angry people.
No.
And so
we're generally happy people.
But then, to be honest, I don't think that the term angry atheist is actually being applied to a lot of people who are actually walking around angry all the time. Right. That would be an unfair, assumption about
they're angry
people.
About certain subjects.
They're angry about certain subjects, or they speak sort of forcefully about certain subjects. But anyways, we kind of take the Mormons to task. And to be honest, I favor, and I'm going to admit to something here. When we talk about Mormon doctrine, I totally favor, and I know that I do this, the Spacey doctrine. The stuff that they don't in the mainline church actually talk about.
That's true, they don't.
I always refer back to, like, well, what did Brigham Young have to say about this? And what did they believe as a faith 100 to 150 years ago? And as being like the real Mormonism, right? This is what it's all based on. And I know that I do that. And that's extremely unfair.
Well, okay. Here's the thing. At least on the show, you and I, we're speaking not just to ex-Mormons. We're speaking most of you out there listening to us probably aren't Mormon. A bunch of you are. But we just came through the Mormon moment.
Yeah.
We've been trying to sort of, just get some Mormon stuff out there.
Yeah.
Because we have that background.
Right.
I think, we had to go for the interesting parts of Mormonism.
Yeah, but is that fair? I mean, interesting isn't necessarily fully 100% honest.
Okay, here's where I fall on that. I don't think that we've ever tried to portray Mormonism as being a bunch of people who go and talk about Kolob and other planets,
blood oaths
and all that stuff.
But
that part is there.
Yeah.
We're not talking about a part of Mormonism that we're making up.
No, that's true.
It's still there. It's still present.
Well, and when to be honest, any kind of, because obviously there's the fundamentalist church and they do their own thing.
Right. And
but
that's a different
there
religion.
is a faction, though, within mainline Mormonism. There are people who are going to regular Mormon wards who study the old doctrine, and who believe it. I mean, you read, again, it's some people who got themselves into trouble, but Under the Banner of Heaven.
Sure.
These were people who were going to Mormon church and then all of a sudden started really getting into the stuff that the church has not completely disavowed. Indeed. And I mean, I guess that's why I bring it up all the time is that the church has never been clear as to what its doctrine really is on some of these things.
Right.
Yeah,
the church,
officially,
they're in some trouble.
There.
They're in some trouble on a few topics because they made such unequivocal statements at some point, or it's in the Book of Mormon.
Yeah, I guess that's what I like to. That's what I'm trying to nail them down on. I guess is that they had a prophet at a certain point, whenever it was in the history of the church, who. And that's exactly what it is. He said that it was this way.
Unequivocally.
Yep. And then they get all equivocal.
Yeah.
About it.
They do. They equivocate. I think
so. I mean, I guess that's what kind of pisses me off. And
see, I'm past being pissed off about it.
I guess pissed off is probably the wrong word.
And I guess, but here's the thing. I went through pissed off.
Mm-hmm.
I had that, in my process, I went through pissed off, and I think Mormons go through it more than most people who get themselves out of a religion.
Depends on the religion.
It does depend on the religion, but
because if you're Anglican, probably not that big of a deal.
No, and most Anglicans, you think about. I don't know about you and your situation, but I know that when I resigned from the church officially, when I finally gave them my letter. Mm-hmm. It felt like a big deal. And it felt like a big deal. It felt like something that I avoided it, but I'll talk about, because I'm not as good an example, but I know I have friends for whom it was heartrending to turn in a letter resigning from the church.
When I finally did it, I had passed the point of caring whether or not they had my name on any piece of paper.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was.
I was just like, I don't care. But then the whole Prop 8 thing came out, and I was like, you know what? I cannot
be associated.
I absolutely cannot have my name over there.
And that's exactly where I was at.
And so for me, it was just like, it was finally just getting the paperwork done.
Yeah,
that said I was no longer Mormon.
But I think here's the deal. I think for most people, and I talked to a friend about this just last night, who was raised Catholic, and he said, it wouldn't even occur to most Catholics to write that letter to get their name out. It wouldn't even occur to them. They just stop going, and they, either they say they're Catholic or they don't anymore.
Yeah, there's something about Mormonism that you feel like you have to resign from it.
Yeah, it's so intense. Mormonism is really intense as a religion.
It's everything about your life should be Mormon.
Yeah, which I actually have to say I kind of respect.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to believe in a theology, you need to believe it all the way.
Yeah.
If you believe that X will get you one eternal fate and Y will get you a totally different eternal fate, and eternity is literally at stake.
Yeah.
And there is a God that you have to please. Like, all of these things to me say, holy shit, take that shit seriously.
Oh, yeah.
If you believe that, it should be everything to you.
Yeah, well, it turns out that it is. They only socialize with Mormons for the most part.
Mormons are really good at that. Other religions, I just look at them and I wonder, well, what does this mean to you?
Yeah.
Because Mormons are so intense about it.
Right.
So there you go. I don't know. I mean, like I say, it's just, I think Mormons, last night I went to a play by a friend. He wrote it. And there were a lot of things that I thought were really good about it. It was taken from actual. It was what's called a documentary play, in that he took verbatim interviews and the actors represented these people, these actual people. These were real, the words of real people that he sort of arranged and he chopped up to create a narrative.
Okay.
But what I sensed most from him was something that I feel like we've moved well past now.
Okay.
But he's still processing, and that is this sort of sense of like, holy shit, I was a part of something crazy. And I was a part of something, and I believed it so deeply because part of his play are his own diary entries from his mission.
Oh, wow.
And he is on board.
Wow.
He is as Mormon, and if you meet this guy, you will be shocked that he ever wrote the phrase "holy cow" in earnest in a diary, which he did multiple times. But like it, it's just one of those things where it's like, to me, one of the problems with the play, it's not really, problematic play, but one of the things that that kind of didn't strike me was that we've heard the stories all before. What he was exploring, Mormons and gays, and he was exploring a lot of stuff. But what he was really exploring was his own. How do you feel when you believed that deeply in something that crazy?
Mm-hmm.
And then you finally take a step back, and you're like, holy shit, what was I doing?
Yeah.
And I think we had to go through that.
Yeah.
I don't think that's where you and I are on this show.
No,
I feel like that's not what we're doing here.
No.
So
any sort of like real pain is gone.
Yeah. Oh,
me.
yeah. Oh,
You
yeah.
know,
but right now, when there's injustice, like with Prop 8.
Yeah. It
especially
grabs your attention.
Especially when they're not, when they're picking on one of their own, like when my mother's colleagues who in church history were starting to be excommunicated.
Oh, right.
For doing good history.
Mm-hmm.
That's a problem, but it's nowhere near as big a problem because that's within their own ranks.
Yeah.
But when they start stepping out of their ranks and start like trying to push people to, trying to push votes in California, that's a society level problem.
Yeah.
And we need to talk about that. And so
but otherwise, when they're just doing their thing here in Salt Lake and they're not really, getting in the way. In fact, instead investing like $2 billion in downtown.
Yeah.
I think that's great. I think it's wonderful. And I applaud them for their efforts to, redevelop our city. But at the same time, it's like, I don't have to go along with anything or think that they're all that great, and I can call them out on when I need to call them out. Yeah. But I can also acknowledge when they're doing good stuff. They do humanitarian work. They're usually first on the scene not first on the scene, but they're there immediately. I mean, in Haiti, there huge amounts of food was shipped down there.
Yep.
And they do tons and tons and tons of work like that. And so, great. They're doing it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So,
but that's where I'm at. And I remember there was a point in my getting out of it that I would have had a very hard time sort of acknowledging any of the good.
You know what would be fun?
And I would have always seen the good under the guise of or through my lens, right? And it would have been tainted and would have been. But if there's good, there's good.
Here's a fun little suggestion for all of you, especially you non-Mormons out there that want to explore the passionate feelings that ex-Mormons can go through. Seriously, go to like an ex-Mormon forum online and just see the crazy that comes out when you extract yourself from Mormonism.
Yeah,
because there are people like, man,
but I'm sure that there are many, many, many people of other faiths that experience something similar.
I just think Mormons, it's just a little bit more intense.
Well, here's the deal. We're kind of laying that on heavy. And if we were to ask, our listeners a question, maybe something for, send us a voicemail or email us or whatever. What if you belong to a church? What was it like getting out of it?
Yeah. What was
unless you were raised atheist, you had some sort of experience with religion.
Right. And some of you were raised atheist, but I suspect that if you were raised atheist, this topic is less interesting to you.
It's quite possible.
So I'm guessing that most of our listeners were raised in a religion.
Yeah.
So talk to us, those you non-Mormons out there. Tell us what your experience was getting out of your church.
Yeah.
And Mormons, go ahead and relay your experience too. If it differs from ours, great. We want to hear about it.
We might be the two crazy ones who are like, it's so awful. If it was just like walking out and being like, fuck it.
I guess I'm not going to do this anymore.
Yeah, which I highly doubt,
but let us know.
But it might be the case.
Let us know. We long to hear from you. We long for it.
Oh. Oh.
But the ways that you get in touch with us, you can email us at podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or you can leave us a voicemail at 424-666-8442. And then, of course, there is the Facebook page, which we do a lot less of sort of like reading on the podcast. So, I mean, that's more just like a forum to go and interact.
Right.
And if you want to send us stuff, it's a great way to do that.
You can but you can message us.
Mm-hmm.
And that way it's not as public. So just make it clear that this is a response to something we said on the thing, and we'll
oh sure we
can treat it as an email or whatever.
Yeah. And you can find that at facebook.com/TGIAtheist.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah, we're so glad you came.
Have a good week.
Bye, guys.